I have built for 50 hours in total in my creative world, and in that time I've created some pretty cool builds, including a giant sprawling lake village that almost became a big old wang, and a huge farm inspired by Stardew Valley that took a really long time to build. So we're gonna start at episode 1 and get all the way to episode 4, which is almost 2 hours of pure building. So yeah, let's get started with episode 1. For a long time now, I've been wanting to start a creative world where I slowly build it into something truly awesome to explore with thousands of builds, and well, the time has finally come. For this first video, my goal is to build for 10 hours straight and see how far we can get. So let's get to it. Here we are. We've simply got a world with the tectonic mod to get us some really cool looking biomes that don't actually add any new blocks to the game. And well, the next step is now going to be surveying the area and finding the perfect location to basically just start building. And well, I haven't really talked about what I'm planning on building, so my plan is to first start working on just an absolutely massive medieval city. And it looks like I've found a really nice plains biome to get started in. Axiom and World Edit are going to make this a lot more achievable, especially in our time frame. So once we hopefully get the village built, we can then branch out and build some more stuff. Okay, I've actually done a little bit more scouting around, and I think I've found the perfect spot. This little island right here. I know it's pretty small at the moment, but we're definitely going to be expanding this out. All right, so first things first, I'm definitely going to want to remove all of the trees off this island. So let's go ahead and get replaced near. We're going to do 50. That's like the radius. We're going to get all of that stuff. Birch logs, birch leaves, oak logs, oak leaves. Oh, I did that wrong. Whoopsie daisy. You need to replace it with 0, which is air. There we go. Okay, I need to do it a couple more times. All right, and there is our bare bones island. Oh, there's still a tree. Get out of here, brother. I'm also going to replace all of the grass with 0 just to make things easier. Okay, so now with our bare bones island, we can now head into the Axiom editor by pressing right shift. And it is now time to expand our island and make it a little bit bigger. So honestly, I really like the shape of this area at the front here, but I think I do want to flatten off the whole island in general. So we're going to use the melt tool here, and I'm going to kind of concentrate on this top area to get it nice and flat. Okay, now we can get the old smooth tool and just kind of go back over everything and smoothen it all off. All right, now the next step is going to be getting World Edit here and just kind of fixing up this crap. All right, so my main goal with this island was to expand the overall size, but keep the general shape along with smoothing it off overall. At first, I was kind of doing this with World Edit, selecting areas and filling or deleting them, until I found out about another tool in Axiom, the elevation tool, which was like exactly what I needed. Yeah, dude, this tool literally is exactly what I needed. Look at this. Like, if I want everything to be at this level, bang, there you go. Fill that in. Oh my god, dude. If I want it to be at this level, bang. Look at that. Oh, I can't believe I didn't find that out sooner. But freaking hell, there is our island so far, looking good. I mean, this probably isn't going to be the final shape. I will do some more tweaking throughout the video. But now we actually have a surface to work on and actually start building out our house designs. So yeah, it is time to get started building our houses and figuring out the block palette and all of that good stuff. Let's get bloody well to it. I ended up deciding on going with a pretty standard design for a medieval house, with the first floor made out of stone and the second one with wood pillars and a lighter wall material. I ended up settling on diorite and polished diorite. For the roof, a trim of spruce, and the rest with textured deep slate tiles and bricks. Always looks good for medieval houses. After adding some dormers and a big stinking chimney, I continued adding the rest of the details like a window design, an entrance to the bottom floor, cleaning up the staircase, and adding some finer details and texture throughout. You know, doing all this kind of stuff on a server rather than single player makes life a whole lot easier with the help of plugins like my favorite, Essentials X, that lets you set warps to builds. And well, this video's sponsor, Wise Hosting, is here to make setting up a server a whole lot easier. Simply choose a package, the location you want the server hosted from, choose between Java or Bedrock along with some optional extras, and that's it. You're also easily able to switch versions, add mods, or even mod packs super quick and easily with Wise Hosting's game panel. Every server is hosted on powerful hardware to ensure a smooth and lag-free experience, and it all comes at some very competitive prices. And any issues can be solved with Wise Hosting's 24/7 customer support. Wise Hosting is also hosting a holiday giveaway with a PlayStation 5 Pro, Steam Deck OLED, and a Meta Quest all up for grabs, with 1 GB of RAM equaling 10 tickets, meaning you'll get 30 tickets with even the lowest server configuration. So be sure to visit Wise Hosting and use my code disruptive to save 25% off your first month. All right, back to the video. Alright, so there is our first house design. I'm going to be eventually making a bunch of different variations of this, you know, like L shapes, all kinds of stuff. But I do just want to get this base house design pretty much like ironed out. So I've gotten all of the exterior done. I'm super happy with this little like nook in here under the stairs. It's so cute. I'm happy with like the window designs and all of the details and stuff that we've got added throughout here. However, what we don't have is the interior. I definitely want to get like a bit of an interior in here. The first thing I want to do is get our little furnace thing in here. here set up, and then maybe just some iron bars in front like that, and there's our little furnace smelting thingamajig. Now, what I think I will actually do for this house is get some rooms added throughout. There we go, so something like that. So we have these separated little rooms, and I think in here we'll definitely add in, ooh, actually no, we'll make the bedroom out here. I think that's gonna be a lot nicer. All right, so there's our bedroom added in. In this room, I don't really know what I wanna do. Maybe like some storage or something, just some extra barrels and chests. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Now out here, I reckon could be our kitchen. All right, and there we have it. There's our little kitchen, and that pretty much completes our first little floor up here. Now let's head down to the bottom floor, and I don't really know what I want to do down here, to be honest. Might just kind of make this like a working area or something like that. Just like a place to tinker with shit, I guess. I don't really know. All right, and there it is. There is our completed little downstairs work area interior thing done, and that pretty much marks this first house design completed. Now the cool thing that we can do with Axiom is actually grab out the box select tool and select this entire house, and then we can copy it, and now I can go ahead and save this as a blueprint. There we go. I forgot what the command was, but it's Control P. There we go, and we can call this house 1. Now if I want to paste this house again, I can just go up here and select the house, press Control V, and there it is. It's back in the world, and I can just paste this wherever the hell I want. I can rotate it as well, which is just so good and handy, man. And yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to do to place these houses around, and all I need to do now is just start creating a bunch more different variations with this design. So yeah, commence the bloody time lapse. All right, so for the first house variation, I simply just extended it out so it would be slightly larger than the first one. I also reoriented the staircase to change it up a bit more. For the next one, I went with a bit of an L shape, and most of the time here was spent just simply fixing up the house. And for the final variant, I went with a bit of a merchant setup with plenty of tables set up on the ground floor with a wool cover as well. Now for the specialty houses, starting with the blacksmith. I ended up going with a pretty different design for the house here just to get it standing out from the rest. I also made sure to add plenty of details along with a big old furnace just to make it clear that this is a blacksmith. Now for the tailor building, I decided on adding this protrusion to the roof. I don't really know what it's for, but I also added an outside area with plenty of hanging clothes and fabric and some little workstations. With that done, I moved on to the butcher, of which I decided on building as a sort of compound containing 2 buildings surrounded by walls. I had heaps of fun decorating this one, especially in this building, which was the butchering area, I guess. Now, with all our buildings being fairly large, I decided on expanding the island a bit more, along with changing up the landscape. I decided on having the land slope towards the ocean instead of the other way, and also added some more features to the land as well. I felt this area would benefit from a tiny little rock cliff as well, so I made sure to add one in. Alright, so there is our brand new island, and all of our different house designs completed, looking awesome. I've also got all of our houses added up here in my little blueprints thing, so I can easily just paste them in, and I'm going to showcase to you how quick and easy it's actually going to be to build this island. So we need to kind of plan out where all of these houses are going to be, and I feel like having houses kind of along this shorefront here is going to be really good, and then we can kind of have our specialty kind of workplace houses maybe like up along the second row. I'm not entirely sure, brother. Let's just start freaking pasting in some houses, okay? Let's get our original one. We'll paste him in right there. Now the annoying thing is this whole island is kind of diagonally oriented, so it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to position some of these. That's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll work around it. So there we go. There's our first house added in. And well, the process is pretty much going to be as simple as that. I'm just going to keep choosing different house designs. I'm going to paste it, rotate it, make sure it's in a nice spot, and just kind of position it exactly where I want it. I'll probably just populate the rest of this with some houses, so just give me a second. Okay, so there is our first couple of houses added in, and this is already looking awesome. And yeah, something I can't really seem to kind of encapsulate in my survival villages is having the houses nice and densely packed and close together. So I'm glad I can kind of get that done here. So now moving on to the next step for this area, which is going to be connecting all of our houses together with a pathway. And well, to make that process a whole lot quicker, Axiom has a path tool here. And so to use this, all we need to do is just simply click, and we can literally just place points around and just create a pathway literally that easily. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how actually like good this tool is, man. It's like this would have taken so long. The cool thing is you can literally go back to other points to kind of smoothen out the path. You can like move them up or down if you want to as well. And then we can just press enter to confirm it. And there we go. We have that pathway added in. Dude, I don't know what I was doing with my life before the Axiom mod existed, but freaking hell, man. It's crazy good. So we can simply link up the blacksmith there like that. And then we can just come around this way with a nice, a little bit of a curve in the path, and bang, link that that house up too. My favorite part about having these densely packed houses is we get these sort of like alleyways created with these paths like this. And dude, I'm so excited to add some details in here. Like, dude, oh, it's gonna be awesome. And there we have it. So that's pretty much this entire first area linked up. We'll probably have the pathway come over this way, and I'll add some like slabs and stuff there. But yeah, that is looking really good so far, dude. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, so what I'm gonna continue doing now is just, well, pretty much repeating that same process, placing in a bunch of houses and our special houses. And then, well, I'll get back to you guys after that time lapse. The first thing I actually did was get a bit of a wider main pathway established that runs throughout the entire island. After that, I started placing down houses as well as creating a diagonal house here, as I quickly realized I would definitely need it to fill in some gaps. I then just continued filling out the land with as many houses as I could fit into the island, along with connecting them all up to the existing pathways. Okay, and there is most of the buildings placed in for our city here, which is looking, dude, so good. I'm so happy with this. Obviously, we're nowhere near done yet. We still have a bunch of details we got to add in throughout here. But the next thing I actually want to try doing is building some walls, and I have a pretty interesting technique that, well, hopefully should work. So the first thing I'm going to do is just build a small little chunk of the walls here, and I'm just going to try and get a height figured out that I'm happy with. Now what we can do, well, hopefully is, well, select this with the box tool. I'm going to copy it. And then what we should be able to do is with the path tool, we can set the block here to custom clipboard. And then we should be able to just draw walls on like so. And dude, look at that. How good is that? Now we can easily just draw walls around this entire city like that. That's actually nuts. So I'm going to get rid of that okay. Well, there we go. Okay, and now what I'm going to start doing is just, well, adding walls around everywhere. I've also decided I want this area here to be like a bit of a harbor of sorts. So I'm going to start the walls probably about here. I do want to leave like some sand on the outside of this, which I think will look really cool. Yeah, now I'm just going to go around and add walls in around this entire freaking thing. So just give me a bloody second. Alright, and well, there is our wall surrounding the entire island, and that is looking pretty cool. We're definitely gonna need some like kind of tower things in like kind of different little areas. So what I might do next is actually build like a bit of a tower. So I want this thing to be predominantly out of stone bricks. I'm also going to make it quite big. I definitely want it to be a little bit bigger than the width of the walls here, which is about 3 blocks. Alright, well, as for the typical castle kind of top, I mean, that's the most classic design you can get there. So let's just get this pasted around and see how it looks. Yeah, it's pretty good. We definitely do need some like details kind of in the middle here, and then we can simply copy this and paste it around every side. And then we of course do need an entrance in here too, so we can just get one added in nice and simply like that. Now this whole thing being made out of stone bricks definitely does look kind of weird, so I think we need to add like a bit of texture into this. Let's try that. Yeah, that looks good. That's definitely like a nice kind of castle vibe to it. All right, and there we go. There is our little tower to sprinkle around the walls. What I'm going to do now is just copy this. There's our tower selected. We're going to copy, and then we're going to save it as tower. Now let's just start placing this around on all of the walls. Oh, of course I frickin' forgot the floor, god damn it. Oh well, that's fine. So there's the first one added in. Let's paste another one over yonder. Bang. Yeah, that looks sweet. Okay. So what I might do is just paste this along every kind of like, I don't know, that many blocks. And just kind of add them in around the entire thing, just to give the wall a little bit of like structure, I guess. All right, and there we go. Our wall now has a lot more structure to it and is looking great. I think now what it's time to do is get to work on this harbor area and kind of figure out exactly what I want to do. So I took a big chunk out of the land with the elevation tool and filled it out with some big blocks of stone. I made sure to elevate it 1 block higher than the water and also added in 3 different docks. I added some walls around the edges, some details, and a big crane in the middle too. I added a bit of a storage area to the left and connected the main path on top of the hill to the harbor as well. Some boats were definitely in order, so I built 2, and then back at the harbor, I decided on switching the docks over to spruce slabs instead. All right, and there is our harbor all done, looking awesome. And dude, our entire town / island city is coming along so good. This is a look with the ortho camera mod. Dude, this thing is looking awesome. We're definitely lacking in a lot of details though. We literally just have plain stinking old fields in between these houses. So I think what it's time to do, probably the most time consuming part, is go through every single inch of this city, add in plenty of trees, maybe some farmland, some barrels and chests and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, let's get straight back to the building. All right, first order of business was getting plenty of trees sprinkled throughout the city using the forest tool from World Edit. I then began focusing on this area on top of the hill, adding in a small crop field and plenty of other random details like a log pile, barrel pile, and bushes. I would then use Axiom again to select each one of these details and save them as a blueprint to get a bit of an asset library of which I could use to easily paste those details around everywhere instead of having to build them by hand every time. So I just continued pasting all those different details everywhere, building up a bit of a market district along with building a diagonal market stall too. Okay, and that is pretty much our island city done. Well, I don't really want to say done because I feel like I'm going to keep coming back and forth to this and just adding and changing stuff around, but it's pretty much done for now. Like, I've gotten so many details added throughout here, I'm pretty happy with it. And so that leads us on to the next thing, which is going to be building some bridges to actually connect this to the mainland. Well, obviously right now this is actually just connected, but I do want to kind of remove this land and build a bridge in between here, and then also figure out what I'm going to do over on this side as well, because right now this just goes into like an underwater cave thing, which just looks kind of weird. So I think what I might actually do here is use the elevation tool to kind of flatten all of this area off. Yeah, this is going to be kind of hard. Okay, different plan. I'm just deleting this entire freaking thing. See you later, dickhead. I'm in a bit of a pickle with this area. I don't really know like what to do here to connect this up. I might just make like maybe some giant like pathway up into the mountains and fill all of this water in here with grass instead. I think that might be the best option here. Let's go set 2. There's our big rectangle of grass. And then we can use the elevation tool again to kind of to screw everything up pretty much. I'm also trying to figure out how this tool works, the slope tool. So like create a slope and then you can like kind of draw it around. I don't know, it's really weird, but it's cool. Like, look at how cool that is. So I can easily kind of connect this back up to the mountain here and kind of rebuild that. Yeah, that's looking pretty nice. Well, kind of weird, but we can go back over that with the smooth tool to just kind of refine it. Never mind, I like it like that. Okay, so I'm gonna try using the path tool here to kind of create a path that goes up this mountain. And yeah, I don't really know how easy this is going to be, but let's just try. Yes, it's not gonna work because it's too like steep. We need it to cut out of the mountain. I don't know if there's a way for that. No, see, it just kind of... Oh, we can even get it to use slabs and stairs for this. That's pretty cool, actually. But what I want it to do is just delete everything above. I mean, I guess we can just kind of do it like this, like have it snake up and around the mountain. I mean, that does look pretty cool as well, having like... Yeah, actually, that is pretty cool. I do like that. So instead of having it embedded in the mountain, we actually have it like above the mountain. But I don't think I really like that shape at all, actually. So what I might do is terraform this a little bit to get like a bit of a cooler shape for the path going. Okay, and there is our pathway added in. Dude, this thing turned out actually pretty cool. I'm actually really happy with this. The only annoying thing is when we turn on using stairs and slabs, it kind of adds like stairs and slabs, like, I don't know, around the edges of it, and it just adds these like weird holes and stuff everywhere. A little bit annoying to work with, but at least it's way quicker than freaking having to manually add them all along the pathway, so not the bloody end of the world, you know? But yeah, there we have it. So there's our first entrance completed, leading up over that way. I don't know where this is gonna go to, but maybe even just another village later on down the line. We even have a freaking cherry blossom biome we could extend here and make like a Japanese village in the future. So yeah, be sure to also let me know in the comments what other things you want to see in this world, because dude, I have just so many ideas, but I want to build what you guys want to see, of course. All right, and so back over on this side, I want to delete all of the land here. So let's grab the erase tool with Axiom. We're going to just select the entire area that I'm wanting to remove here. So pretty much all of that. Bang, see you later. Now let's come back in and type in / fix water. We'll just do 50. And that's going to fix all of the water up nicely. There we go. I do also just want to fix these trees up. So I'm just going to use the melt tool here to kind of, you know, fix them up. And yeah, there we go. So now we have our 2 points, and I think I'm just wanting like a nice single arched bridge like that, giving us enough room to, well, theoretically get boats all the way through down this river. I don't know, man. Eventually we'll add some stuff down there, and even back here we can add like a little port as well. Actually, that just reminds me, I found an image, and it has like these really cool like walls that connect from the island to the mainland. I don't know what they'd be for, like maybe to stop the island from like drifting off into the ocean or something. I don't freaking know, but I actually really want to add some like like here and then also here connecting to this piece of land. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's create this bloody bridge. We'll probably just do that as a real quick time lapse starting right now. Creating this bridge was actually pretty easy. I just simply used the path tool to create one half of the arch and copied and flipped it to the other side. I added the side details by hand for 1/4 and then just did the same thing and flipped it to the other side. All right, there is our brand spanking new bridge added in and ready to continue that path off to wherever that wants to lead to, I guess. And yeah, so that pretty much marks both of the main entrances in and out of the city. The next thing I want to do is add in those walls that I talked about before. And so to do this, I'm going to basically do the exact same thing I did to make these walls in the first place. I'm going to copy just a section of this wall like that, control bloody C it. Then we'll head to path tool and we will set this to custom bloody clipboard. And now when we start drawing, we should, yes, draw those walls in nicely. So I want these to actually be a little bit lower than the existing walls just because they're kind of, I don't know, different, I guess. And actually, I want to start it from these little towers here. So we're going to start it basically just down here. And then I'm going to draw this path out to, well, where I want it to go to, I guess. Actually, I don't know if I want it to go that far because I want boats and stuff to be able to go in and out. I guess this will kind of act as like a kind of like route for the boats to go through as well. We'll do something like this. Might make this kind of lower gradually into the water as well. So just something like that for our first wall here. What I might actually do to fix this up is kind of select and then just shift them back like that. There we go. That's looking good. And then also I'll paste in one of these towers here as well. Let's paste him in right there. And I want this to be a little bit shorter, so I'm just going to drag it down into the water like that. There we go. That is looking really cool. I like how that wall just kind of extends out. And I definitely want to do the same thing here as well. But before we do that, I just want to figure out how we're going to do this side. So I might have these two connect up to the actual land. Let's grab our path tool again and we'll just draw this out. I want this to hit the bloody bottom of the water. But there we go. So that's that side connected up. I don't think I'll add a tower on this end because it might just look weird doing that. So I think we'll just leave it as walls for now. All right. And yeah, I think that is going to be perfect. That looks so cool having that connecting to the land. And now to just get this fully extended down into the water, I'm just going to use world edit here and just basically do this. Set stone. There we go. Perfect. I'll do the same thing over here real quick too. So there we go. We've got our walls over there connecting up to the land. And now I'm just going to quickly build out this one and extend it out a little bit further as well. Alright, and well, that just about marks out the 10-hour mark in this world so far. And dude, I'm so surprised at how much stuff we've managed to get done already. Here's a look with the ortho camera mod, and dude, it is insane how good this island city is looking. But yeah, once again, be sure to let me know in the comments some ideas you have for builds in this world, like what these pathways could lead over to. I definitely want to get like a big mining establishment built and plenty more different cities as well. My new creative world is severely lacking in one of my most favorite types of builds, farms. And recently I got, well, mega addicted to Stardew Valley, which has been the perfect source of inspiration, along with this comment from my previous video. So right up here where we left off this path at the plains, it's time to build the biggest farm I have ever made in the style of Stardew Valley. Alright, so just before we get started building, I wanted to take a look at some of the buildings in Stardew Valley just to get an idea of what we want to, add to the farmland. So we want heaps of stuff like silos, wells, windmills, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to add all of these to a big stinking list. Also, once we click in some of these, we can kind of get, well, this one doesn't have a freaking picture. If we just look up, Stardew Valley stable, we can get kind of a look of what they look like. And there we go, that's the stable. I don't know if I'm going to build in exactly the same kind of style and way of this, but we will probably get something very similar. So yeah, I'm going to catalog all of these into a list, and let's jump back over to Minecraft right now. All right, and here we are back in the creative world. Here is where we left off with our awesome looking island. But what it's time to do is take the path off to the right here up the mountain, and yeah, all the way up here is exactly where I'm wanting to start our Stardew Valley style farm. We have this massive plains area to work with, and I think it's going to be the absolute perfect location for that. So what I'm thinking of doing is having the path maybe go up alongside the tree line here, and can maybe lead up over to this village that we could probably eventually, just completely redo and upgrade to our liking. I think that's going to be a pretty cool plan, and so we're going to have that path run up alongside there, and then we can build our farm kind of in this area, sprawling up against the cherry blossom biome up there. I literally have to pause for like a second because I just can't think of the name of shit at the moment. God's sake. So I definitely think the first thing to do is to sort out this pathway here. So let's head into the Axiom Blender mode. We're going to grab our path tool once again. All right, there we go. That is looking good. Let's curve this over this way. And honestly, we might actually transition it to a bit of a smaller path like that. Okay, and then let's just snake this up along the tree line here. All right, I think that is looking pretty good. I'm gonna quickly go back and just fix up all of this stuff. I'm also gonna make sure to add, use stairs and slabs here. And yeah, so we got the grass clipping into some spots here, so I'm just going to kind of adjust the path as we go. Okay, and there is the pathway all done and cleaned up, looking absolutely beautiful. Now it is time to figure out the position and layout of our farmland. So I'm thinking I wanna maybe branch off a path over kind of this way and up along there, and we can run some buildings along that. All right, there's that pathway done and added in, and now as you can see, we're over in Photoshop because I want to do just a little bit of planning to make my life a bit easier, okay? So this is an overview screenshot of our area, and I'm just gonna quickly, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw in the rest of these paths here with kind of just my idea. So I'm thinking I want this to come up here and then kind of go over this way like that. Might get the same thing down this way. I should probably also just say I found this reference picture here, which is actually really cool and really helpful for what I'm wanting to do. So you can see I'm kind of using this just to get the layout kind of, you know, figured out, I guess. But I really like the layout of the buildings in the village here. Obviously, we're not building a village, but I'll replace these with actual buildings. I like the river as well. So I'm just using that as my template to work with here to get like a semi-realistic layout. Right now, as for the water, we're definitely gonna need a river somewhere in here. And I just noticed that we have this like little bit of a cave over here where the water could theoretically be coming out of. I think that's gonna be the perfect little spot. So we'll have that run up along there. We'll turn this into a bridge. And then I reckon that could run down maybe like over to here, come down this way, and this can kind of be like the main water source for all of our farms and kind of divide them up a little bit as well. So that's the water figured out there. Now what we can do is kind of just add in like a kind of main courtyard area. So we'll thicken up this pathway quite a bit. And yeah, I think I might do the rest of this just as a real quick time lapse. So yeah, let's get bloody to it. All right, and 25 minutes of planning later. Yeah, I didn't think this would take that bloody long, but here is our final layout that I've settled on. So you can see all of these individual bigger kind of green lines here are going to be actually leaves kind of separating each farm, and these little lines indicate where a little farm section is going to be. Then of course we have all of the buildings. We've got the barn, the chicken coop, farmhouse, some random like sheds and stuff, and houses, a well, windmill, stable. And usually I don't like doing this, but I found this awesome reference in Minecraft here of like this horse track that runs around. That's kind of the only thing I've copied from this. I just really like this idea. So whoever made this, thank you very much. I really appreciate this idea. And I just thought I'd implement it here in a bit more of a different kind of unique shape here that fits the land and the pathway and the river and stuff. So yeah, this is going to have an absolutely massive amount of farms and stuff here. I'm going to need to figure out a way to get this all set up quickly with Axiom because man, this project has, it's massively gone out of my scope now. Like this thing is going to be freaking huge, but I am super excited for how this is going to turn out. So yeah, it's time to jump back into Minecraft and get bloody started. Okay, and there it is. There is the full layout penciled in. We have all of our pathways and the river as well. Obviously, yeah. There's grass kind of just covering everything. All of these pathways have no slabs or stairs or anything. I need to go through and just refine all of that. And also, yeah, this river, it's yeah, it's just kind of not really connecting to anything at all. And what I've actually realized is that this little underground cave actually isn't a cave at all. Or maybe it is, but it is a lot lower than our river entrance here. So what I'm gonna do is actually just fill up this entire canyon here with some water. We can actually get that done real quick right now with the flood fill tool. And so what I can do is just get this at the perfect layer right there. Just click and bang, there we go. This entire thing is just filled up with water now. It's like a nice little reservoir. Bang, there we go. Okay, so there is our reservoir of water filled up and looking beautiful. That's where our river is coming in from. Yeah, I'm not gonna do a time lapse for any of this crap because it is really boring. I'm just removing all of this freaking floating grass. I'm gonna fix up the river and all of the pathways, so I'll be back once that is all done. All right, and after about an hour of work, I have completely polished off the entire landscape. You can see I've removed all of, well, most of the flowers and grass. I've added slabs to all of the pathways. I've made the river and the ponds a bit deeper and just generally smoothened off all the landscape and all the holes and crap. And so the next thing I want to get done is actually add some little bridges in between the gaps of the rivers here because yeah, right now it's just, you know, There's no way to bloody get across, okay? And so the easiest way I think that we're going to be able to do this is with the path tool here, like that. And then we'll click over here. That'll be our like destination, I guess. And there we go. There's our little bridge. We can add in to use stairs and slabs like so. And that gives us a little something like that. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's just hit enter. Honestly, I might just leave it like that. I kind of like the look of that. Just like kind of the open. I was thinking of adding like a railing along the side here, but honestly, I just like the way that looks. Nice and simple. And we've got a lot of work to do, man. So I can't be spending like freaking 20 minutes on each bridge. You know what I'm saying? All right. So we'll get the same deal over here as well. So there we go. Something like that. That looks good. We do need to thicken this up slightly. And last one over here. All right, and now with everything done, it's time to finally get started on some bloody buildings, mate. With the first one, of course, being the farmhouse. And now the unfortunate thing about Stardew Valley is that a lot of the buildings are quite small for obvious like gameplay reasons. So they're really small on the outside, but on the inside they get absolutely massive. So I'm gonna take the farmhouse from Stardew Valley. I'm gonna keep that same kind of block palette. It looks to me like it's kind of like oak wood. And I'll try and use like a pretty similar style, but I might just make it, you know, like quite a lot bigger. So I reckon we could get the front of the house at least looking like the Stardew Valley one there. So we can have the doorway kind of here, and then there's two sides where the windows are can be like this kind of section, I guess. Actually, you know what? That size might actually even work for a farmhouse. That might just bloody work. Now what we can do is we can just copy this entire thing and just scroll to kind of add the back there. So I think, yeah, that is actually, that's bigger than I thought it would be. That is huge. Holy crap. Okay. Wow. Now to easily add some pillars here, we can just kind of stack this all the way down and bang, there we go. I feel like it's going to look weird if we just do one massive roof like that. So I might need to figure out some other way to do the roof. All right, I've got a bit of a different idea. What I might do is actually just remove this entire back section here, just because this is quite massive at the moment. And what I might do is actually just duplicate this entire area and just kind of like add this rectangle up above here. There we go, just something like that. All right, so I'm thinking dark oak for the trim is going to be a perfect kind of block for this. Might add in like a couple of dormers and such onto these. So just give me a second, I'll get these roofs filled out now. Okay, after looking at a couple of different houses from some Stardew Valley mods, I found these pictures, which actually inspired me to go with a style a little bit more like this. So I'm actually really happy with the palette for these roofs. It's more of like a kind of, I don't even know, man. I don't know what style this is, but I'm gonna go with some white walls, which I think are going to look quite nice. But yeah, I'm really happy with the roof and that kind of layout. I really like that little addition off to the side here too. Just kind of balances it out a little bit more. And as for positioning, I might end up just positioning it kind of like towards the back area over here. Yeah, I think that's going to be perfect right there. And yeah, so now what it's time to do is to figure out the wall blocks and exactly how I'm going to go about doing those. All right, so I ended up settling on using 2 layers of chiseled quartz followed by quartz pillars on top for the walls, which I think turned out super nice. For the windows, I went with inset light blue glass so I could place some pot plants in front, which I actually ended up really liking as well. As for the extra details, I put stairs and fences under the pillar sticky outy bits and a nice arch between them. I then just essentially repeated all of those walls and details across the entire house, and just to bring an extra bit of Stardew Valley back in, I made this undercover area into a firewood storage just like the original building. Alright, so there is our farmhouse exterior all completed and looking awesome. Dude, this thing turned out so good. Heading on inside, obviously there is no interior so far, and honestly I think I'm just gonna leave all of the interiors, or most of the interiors of all the buildings to the end, just because I'm way too excited to get started building some of our other buildings. With the next one I want to get started on is our stable and that horse track that'll run around here. Dude, I'm so excited to get started in this. So let's just get right bloody to it, I reckon. So first off, I'm gonna have to smoothen off this land a little bit, and we will use our old flatten tool here to make that job nice and quick and easy here. Bloody beauty. Oh, that poor pig. You just got suffocated to death. Sorry, mate. Okay, and that is looking good. We've got a nice little platform there. I'm gonna have to do the same on this other side for the horse track too, but we'll get to that, you know, when the time comes. All right, and so I think it's just time to start getting our little stable built here, and I'm thinking I want to use a slightly different block palette from over there. I want to get like some nice white pillars, which we will use some smooth quartz for, and then I want to use some red wood, which is probably going to be mangrove, our best bloody bet there. Let's just get a bunch of these mangrove blocks added to our inventories. So let's start just getting a little bit of a foundation figured out here, and that actually fits in bloody well perfect right there. Look at that. Yes. All right, and so now to make this job nice and quick and easy, we can simply just duplicate these pillar blocks. Now to fill in these walls nice and easily, what we can do is use our world edit wand here. We can just say to replace the air with some stripped mangrove logs and then just mangrove planks. And there we go. That'll just easily replace that wall there with some nice textured blocks like so. We can get the same thing on the back here and also on this side. Oh, and now I'm thinking I actually might want a gap of 2 in here because I really want to get some wood in here, and that's just simply too small for a freaking horse stable. I kind of want a gap of 2 in between there. Okay, give me a second. I'll get that figured out. All right, there is our little stable all fixed up there. Now what I'm gonna do is just add in a little bit of an arch like that. And yeah, there we go. I think that is going to work out bloody well perfect there. Now, let me just quickly get this same thing added across all of these little spots. Okay, and now because right now this is pretty much just all just horse stables. There's not really like a help desk, I guess, of sorts. So I think over to this side here would be the perfect little spot for a bit of like a desk, you know, that the worker would actually kind of stay at. Maybe add something like that just for some extra detail. Now, as for our roof, I think we're just going to go with something exactly the same as that over there. Maybe something a little bit more mellow, using slabs instead of stairs. Let's just see how that works out. Yeah, I think that should be good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill out this entire roof here. I'll use our tough slabs over there and fill that in as well. Maybe add in a couple of gables on top of all of these. So just give me a second. I'll get all of this added in now. All right, and there we have the horse stables pretty much done, you know, except for the interior details, of course. We can just quickly go ahead and add those in. Why the bloody hell stinking not? Let's get something like this across here, and then I reckon we'll get maybe some mangrove fences, actually. So there's like, you know, some stuff for them to munch on. Can add in like a bit of a water bowl here. Oh, this is always such a pain in the ass. There we go. Water for them to drink. And then always in any kind of animal pen, I love using coarse dirt. It just, you know, makes it feel a little bit more rough and, you know what I'm saying, right? And it is a bit dark in here, so I think a nice spot for a lantern might be just right here on this fence. All right, and then we have all of our interiors figured out. We can also just go ahead and spawn some horses in here because why not? You know, might as well make it look a little bit more lively. Perfect. All right, now what I want to do is add in a little bit of like a stone kind of courtyard area here with, I reckon, stone and andesite. Yeah, something like that looks good. And then what I'd like to do is just kind of blend this coarse dirt into it a little bit just to make it feel nice and like lively and used, you know, like the horses are constantly coming in and out of here. Yeah, that looks perfect. Now we'll just connect this up to our pathway as well. So let's just get some cobblestone running along, something like that. Yeah, that looks freaking perfect. I love that, man. That looks so good. All right, and now it is time for the part I've been waiting for, the horse track. This is going to be so much fun to do. The first thing we need to do is actually figure out the height, because this all needs to be like a completely flat piece of land. And we do also have this river that we need to work with as well that is at a, you know, a certain set height as we go downwards. So this might actually be kind of tricky. But we can also, of course, use our elevation tool here to increase the radius a bit and just kind of find a height. I reckon maybe this height here. Let's just start bloody drawing around like this, and we'll just get this entire area flattened off like so. All right, and that is looking pretty good. All right, and so now what we can do is we can grab our path tool and we can set this to whatever kind of block we want to use for the horse track path, which I'm thinking coarse dirt is going to work pretty nicely here. And so what we can do is we can actually set this to a Bezier curve instead and just kind of see how this is going to work. Yeah, I don't exactly know. Oh, okay. So yeah, it adds like a nice kind of curve between the points. So we'll have this kind of just run up alongside the river here. Okay, I definitely want these to be a lot closer to the river because we have not a lot of room to work with here in terms of width. Now let's have this come out here, and then we're going to wrap this around like so. So you can see how it's kind of made this a lot smaller than the kind of outline. So if we go back to our original line here, so you can see that's what it would look like, but with the Bezier. Okay, so it turns out I don't actually like this Bezier curve thing at all. It's not really conforming to the landscape how I want it. So I'm going to completely redo this whole thing. So yeah, let's get bloody started again. Yes, okay, that is pretty much exactly what I wanted there. That is perfect. Let's confirm that. Okay, the next step here is going to be elevating our grass here. I want this to be up 1 block just to make the horse path stand out a little bit more. And so this is where masks are going to come in very handy, and I need to figure out how to use these. I know how masks work in Photoshop, but not in here. So if the block equals... Oh, okay, that's not doing anything. Let's go with grass. Oh, god damn it. I don't know how this freaking works, man. Oh my god, I figured it out, gamers. This looks complicated as hell, but trust me, it just means like basically grass goes up, coarse dirt does not go up. Thank you to Ash's Den for the awesome tutorial. And now we can actually just go around this coarse dirt and just kind of, you know, lift it up. For some reason, the actual dirt here isn't working, and if I add dirt, it doesn't work still. So, we'll just do that area by hand. But, yeah, it's made this whole process a lot quicker and easier. So let's just get all of this raised up. And now, if I want to only replace this dirt, I should be able to set the block here to dirt. I'll get the paint tool and set my block to grass. So now this should only affect the dirt blocks. Bang, look at that. Okay, I understand. That is bloody perfect. Now, I can't be bothered setting up the mask just for this tiny bit, so I'm just gonna fill this in by hand. But there we go, look at that. We have our raised little section here for our horse track. Perfect. Oh my god, I get it even more now. The reason why it wasn't working properly before is because I was trying to raise it up, but I had my mask set only to grass, not including air. So now I've included either grass or air, and now it works beautifully. Look at that. Except for some reason, it's not getting those blocks. What the f? Maybe I don't understand it. Man, this is pissing me off now. But I mean, it seems like that's working except for those blocks for some reason. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to add like this little ring around the track here just to make it stand out even more. Yeah, honestly, I think that looks great. That looks awesome. All right, and now the quick way to add some crops in the middle here to really make this pop is going to be a little bit of a complicated process. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the random tick speed to 0. And this is to allow me to paint in some farmland. Sorry, my kid's toy just randomly went off for some reason. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit, but yeah, that is going to allow me to add in some farmland without it turning back to dirt. So I'm going to paint in some strips like this. All I've got is my mask set to grow. Are you shitting me? Why is it going off again? Give me a second. Yeah, if you're wondering why it sounds weird, it's because he's switched it from English to German mode. So it's going through the alphabet, except in German. And it sounds really funny. So yeah, so this is the idea here. We're just leaving a single block gap between these rows of crops here. This is the quickest and easiest way I could think of doing this. I mean, we could probably do it with the path tool as well. But, you know, I've got a pretty steady hand here. I can just, you know, whoosh, and it's done. Except for that one. We don't talk about that. Oh, okay. Oh, do you see that? See how quick that was? Whoosh, done. Look at that. I'm a freaking pro. All right, so now with all of our farmland added in, oh my god, these sheep are pissing me off, brother. Get out of here. You, get out of here. God. Mongrels, I tell ya. All right, so like I was saying, now we can start adding our water in between all of these here to, you know, keep them hydrated once we get the tick speed up and going again. So I'm just going to randomly sprinkle in some bits of water just because I don't want this to freaking take forever. Actually, you know what we can even do is set our block to water, set this to farmland like that, and bang. Now we can just paint in the water blocks. Dude, 200 freaking IQ out here. I'm not even kidding. See, the thing I love about starting this series as well is it's like forcing me to learn how to use Axiom, which is just making my building skills and everything so much like more efficient, I guess. Like it was already pretty good with World Edit, but Axiom is just a whole nother freaking level. And I just want you guys to see how like easy it can be to learn as well. That's why I'm kind of showing all of the processes of me learning this stuff too, just because I feel like it'll be helpful and kind of more inspirational to you guys, if you know what I'm trying to say. All right, and that is looking bloody well perfect. Now what it is time to do is figure out how to... Okay, I know exactly how to do it. Now, when we paint this in, it should only... Oh, that's huge. It should only paint on top of the... Okay. I mean, it's working. It's on the farmland, but it's replacing the farmland and the grass. Oh, that's because of the near. All right, give me a second. I'm going to figure this crap out. Oh my god, I got it figured out. Okay, I just had to change this one to below, and bang, look at that. We're painting in frickin' wheat. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. Oh my god, and it's done. Look at that. That is so good. Yes. Now what we should be able to do is set the tick speed back to 3, and all of the water here will start to flow into these blocks, and it'll be bloody perfect. Look at that, okay? Frick yeah, man. That is awesome. All right, the next thing that I've decided to do is just to add a little bit of dirt path kind of in the middle of all of this, just to make it stand out a little bit more, because right now it's just very dirty, and I just, you know, I don't know how to frickin' explain what I want, man, but I just want it to look better, basically. All right, there we go. Now when we press enter, yes, we have a much nicer looking track now. That looks awesome. Sweet. Something as well that I really liked in, you know, basically what I'm essentially ripping off this from is the little hurdles that the horses have to jump over. I really like the idea of those. And well, obviously they would be in something like this as well. So I reckon we grab out some quartz blocks here and we'll get some red concrete and let's make some little hurdles. So basically just something like this, and then we'll alternate between those blocks there, and that's basically a hurdle. And it does look a little bit weird because it is so big. Okay, what I might do instead is use some diorite walls here. I wish we could get red slabs, man. Oh, maybe we can actually. I mean, they're not red, but We can try that. Let's see how that's gonna look. It's annoying it doesn't join up there, but that does look pretty good. Actually, I have an idea to get it to join up. We can use the Axiom little right-click feature there. Bang, look at that. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. There's a little hurdle. Perfect. Now we can get a bit of a diagonal one added on here as well. Bang, bang. There we go. Let's copy this and we can maybe place a couple in succession down here. Bang, bang, bang. That's looking cool. All right, and there we have it. There is our little horse track all done. I've just gone ahead and also replaced all of the wheat there with some carrots. I just think that looks a little bit nicer on the eye there. That looks, yeah, that looks way better. All right, and so I'm glad we have gotten that entire area all figured out and done. I think what I might move on to next is this chicken coop that's actually going to go up between the river and the farmhouse over here. All right, and so I'm going to get this one built as a full-blown bloody time lapse. So let's just get straight into it. All right, so right off the bat, I got the land flattened off nicely, along with getting the pillars of the building established. I got the shape of the roofs figured out, along with starting on the front walls, getting a big old entrance in, along with plenty of windows and details. Once that was done, I copied it over to the back and got straight onto filling out the roofs, first starting with the topmost one and then onto the sides. I filled in the rest of the walls just under the topmost roof and got a fence established to the left of the building for the chickens to roam around. After adding some grass and hay bales for details, it was onto the interior, of which I added pillars, separate areas for the chickens, pathways, and some hay bales and barrels for storage. My brother in Christ, holy crap, this is looking good. I love the interior of this thing. I love this little outside freaking roaming paddock, and I love the building itself, dude. Everything just came together perfectly for this one. I do really just want to get a look from afar. Oh my god, dude, that looks so good next to the freaking farmhouse there. That is amazing. Dude, this area is coming to... Okay, I just got goosebumps. It's not even funny at this point, man. Holy crap. This looks so good. This is the best farm I've ever made, and I'm not even halfway freaking done yet. I'm on the verge of tears. This is looking awesome, dude. I think what I want to do next is get started on our big stinking animal barn over to the side here. This is where all of our sheep and cows and pigs are going to be housed. Dude, I'm super excited. I'm going to get it built in a very similar block palette and style to this one. Instead of having the like 2 extra roofs, it's just going to be this kind of area, but a lot wider. And it's going to have that typical barn, big stinking barn roof, you know what I'm saying? Dude, this looks so good. I'm sorry for getting aggressive there, but man, I'm so excited for how this is going to look in the end, man. All right, because this is going to be pretty much the exact same thing as this, we're going to roll another freaking time lapse, man. So let's just get started. All right, first order of business was to, of course, flatten off the land and then start with the pillars of the barn, which was going to be absolutely massive. I then got the main part of the roof built nice and quickly with the stack tool, and then got to adding in a couple of dormers along both sides. For the front wall, my plan was to have a big doorway right in the middle and some open windows on both sides, of which I outlined with diorite fences. I got the rest of the walls filled in, along with adding another window over here. And with that, I got straight onto adding some farm silos to the right of the barn, 4 in total, and prettied them up with some walls on the corners and by adding in some texture. For the outside paddock area, I decided on going with a fancier, more sturdy looking fence using plenty of mangrove wood blocks. For the interior, again pretty similar to the chicken coop, I just sectioned off some areas and filled them in with plenty of details like hay bales, water troughs, grass, along with the animals themselves. Alright, now just before I forget, I did want to add a couple of these like big kind of hay bales around the place. So I'm just going to clone this and place this in a couple of spots just around the field here, and then maybe even just a couple of single blocks around the place too, just as like, you know, just general bloody animal feed, along with a couple extra hay bales towards the front of the building here, just for some extra detail. You know what, maybe even just a couple of bloody barrels too. Why not, man? Okay, shut up. Alright, and that is looking good. Our barn is all done. Dude, this thing turned out pretty cool. Honestly, the front wall is very simplistic, but I don't know, I just kind of like that look. I really do like that look, especially for builds where like we're kind of mainly meant to view it from really far away, like just kind of the area as a whole, and just a lot of small details kind of muddy it up. You can kind of tell with the house here. From afar, it just kind of all blends together, and having like this simpler kind of just more bland details, it just makes it stand out a little bit more. And dude, that is already just making the area come together so much nicer over there, man. That is awesome. All right, and so, well, that leads us on to the next build, which is the windmill. Now, I did take a look at the windmill from Stardew Valley, and I'm not gonna, man, I'm not gonna kizzy cap on a stack. This thing, I'm sorry, brother. It's plain putrid. This thing, the top of it, it just looks way too small compared to the base. It just looks oddly disproportionate, man. And so, while I did do some scrolling, I found another windmill from a game called Kinseed, which actually looks really cool. I can only see the base of it here, but man, I can just imagine imagine how cool the rest of that thing looks, and I'm gonna try and copy that base, and then we'll just figure out the rest, you know? All right, so once again, we're cracking out the old elevation tool here. Let's just kind of, oh, okay, that's not, we want that in bloody flattened. There we go. Let's just get a little bit of a foundation to work with here, and then we'll just kind of smoothen that off into the landscape. Bang diddly. Perfect. All right, that is a nice area to work with. First, let's get that stone base figured out. And man, I want this thing to be pretty big, okay? For at least for the base, because it does go up and then kind of go in, and then the rest of the tower is going to be pretty kind of like, you know, standard, a bit thinner, you know? So I'm thinking, oh man, is that too big? That's too big. Okay. Holy crap. How are we looking there? Yeah, I think that is a lot more manageable there. Now what we can do is just highlight all of this like so, and then we can just use the stack tool to get a height that we're happy with. That's looking good to me. Now let's just remove a chunk here for the door. We could get something like that. That looks kind of cool. Is it cool? I don't know, man. Maybe like that. That looks all right. Yeah, we can maybe even get some signs on there just for some added, I don't know, depth. I reckon the sides here would definitely have some windows, so we could get some of those added in. Maybe just something like that. Maybe just filled up with fences, and then to get this on every side, we can just freaking use the clone tool, bang, and bang. There we go. There's our windows added in. Now, looking back at the reference, it looks like it goes like kind of out a little bit in terms of the wood. So we might add like a ring of slabs around this here. Then on top of this, I reckon we whack some stairs on. And now I need to try and kind of figure out a way to get that to go like just a gradual slope kind of inwards. Oh, we might be able to use the old Axiom bloody tools here to do this. Let's grab a cylinder, place it right in the middle. Let's go up, and then diameter, we want to make this thing a bit bigger. So that's the exact width there that we have of our original thing, but let's shrink that in a little bit. Now, for some reason, even though I've ticked hollow, it's not freaking hollow, but that's fine. We can figure it out later. And now we can just keep kind of contracting this a little bit by a little bit until we kind of get the shape that we want. So I reckon that's when we're going to start the actual windmill tower there. I think that's going to work perfectly. And what we might even do is just replace all of these blocks around here with stairs just to kind of smoothen it off a little bit better. Okay, a little bit more work has been done. I moved the entire thing down a little bit. I added in these windows and a little bit of an oak trim, as well as introducing some texture, and the whole thing is looking a little bit more normal now. And so next, what I think it is time to do is to start raising up this thing here, which is the actual, obviously, the windmill base. So let's get this to a height that I am going to be happy with. That is pretty bloody tall there. Excuse me. So let's, yeah, maybe something a bit more modest like that. As for the roof, I'm thinking something similar to the silos over there would look good with some polished deep slate. I feel like it definitely needs like a trim. So maybe we just get our, tough blocks as the actual main roof blocks in here. All right, that is looking much nicer. Now let's move on to the sail, which is always the freaking hardest part, man. I always have so much trouble making goddamn windmill sails. It's just ridiculous. So maybe let's just start off with something like this. We'll just get fences and wool, and then we kind of just make these a little bit arched by doing something like that. And then we can kind of add some stairs and trapdoors to bulken these up a little bit, just to make them feel a little bit more, I don't know, sturdy, you know what I'm saying? Like that. And now to quickly and easily kind of duplicate this around, we can get the box select tool, just select this entire thing, and then we can press enter to confirm the selection. Then we're going to copy it, and we want to paste it back in, and we're going to use this blue thing to rotate it a little bit. It's going to mess up the goddamn freaking trap doors a little bit, but that's all right. Position that rightio there, and then enter. And of course, yeah. So we got to just reclose all of these and fix a couple of them up, along with the stairs as well. For some reason they don't rotate properly. Okay, I just realized I actually did these wrong. They're supposed to be more like that. Yeah, there we go. That's just a quick and easy way to make some sails like that. All right, and there we have it. I think that is looking pretty good. I'm actually really happy with that. I think we definitely need to add some details onto our main like windmill shaft thingamajig here. So we can probably do that by just adding in some windows. So something super simple like that. And there we go. That's our windmill looking pretty cool. I do just really quickly want to see how this looks with some fences in the corners here, just for some extra detail. Yeah, I think that looks really cool. That actually adds like a little bit of extra, I don't know, something that I like. All right, now let's add in a little bit of a pathway that comes over towards the entrance here. That's looking pretty sweet. And then of course we'll just fill in the interior here with a bunch of cobblestone. Perfect, sweet. Okay, now let's grab a bit of a main kind of shaft that'll connect up to the actual windmill here. So there it is. Let's bring that down towards the middle, and then we'll bring this all the way down to the bottom. And then this will, I don't know, it like controls like a big basket thing that'll be full of bloody like grain and stuff, kind of grinding it down into flour. I don't know, there might be like hay bales under here. I don't know what it freaking looks like, man. That's good enough for me. We just add some fences here just for a little extra detail. Perfect. And then maybe, of course, just a couple of hay bales kind of added throughout here just for storage, and some bloody barrels, of course, too. All right, and then we have our big stinking windmill looking pretty cool. Definitely very unique compared to what I'd usually make. So I'm glad I tried something different there. And dude, that looks so good when it's added to our area there. That is awesome. All right, and so that almost checks off every building in my list. The only couple of other things we have is like a well and then some just random shed buildings to add around the kind of main courtyard area here. But what I actually want to get started on next is just figuring out how we're going to do these farms with the kind of leaf hedges and stuff in between them. So what we can do is grab some oak leaves here. I might just make like a little hedge kind of like this, and then what we can do is just select this with the box select tool. We're going to copy it with Control C. Now what we should be able to do is when we head into this little path tool, we can set the, there it is, the width. We can set that to custom clipboard, and now when we start drawing, we'll actually be drawing those leaf blocks. Yeah, like that. And that is exactly what I'm wanting. And basically we're just going to be outlining like the entirety of the freaking pathways and all of the farms with this kind of, you know, situation here, which, man, yeah, I didn't think this would be this time consuming, but it looks like it is going to be. I mean, it's not the end of the bloody world, but yeah, I just feel like that's going to help kind of outline the farms a little bit better and just make them look, I don't know, just a little bit more interesting. But for now, I'm just going to quickly outline this entire area and then all of the little sections that I'm wanting in here, and then we can get started on the actual farm. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, there we go. So there is our separated fields there. I've changed it a little bit just from our original sketch there, just because, I don't know, that's just how it freaking worked out, okay? And now what it is time to do is grab out the old painter tool here. We're gonna grab out our masks again. That's right, we only wanna modify grass blocks, and we just wanna change them to farmland. So now that should work. Yep, sweet. The only thing is we're gonna need water in here. Which I don't know how we can do that quickly and easily. Maybe we could use the noise painter, okay? Let's do that. So we want farmland and we want water, all right? We're gonna change the scale here down, and we're gonna do a lot less water because we don't need too much. So now when we paint this, it's gonna add a water block occasionally. Okay, that's a lot of water. It's also leaving grass there too. Okay, so we wanna set, there we go. So we want 100% crops or farmland and only a tiny bit of water. Let's try that out. How's that gonna look? Okay, that's not enough water. God damn it, man, this is a pain in the ass. All right, well, yeah, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to paint in kind of strips. I'm gonna leave a little bit of grass between them just for some definition. So something kind of like that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, let's get bloody well to it. Okay, so there is all of our farms filled out, and well, we do have a couple of issues where there's some big areas that don't have water, and I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. So my idea, okay, let's maybe just stop the tick speed there. My idea is to maybe actually, let's go back to the noise painter, because we don't want to replace all of them with water, okay? We want to replace, let's go 30% water and then the rest farmland. So now that's going to replace all of the dirt, yeah, with farmland and water, and that should hopefully fix our issues. I mean, that would be bloody well perfect, wouldn't it? I'm definitely gonna have to go back in by hand to fix a lot of this up, but at least it's gotten us most of the way there. So now let's turn the tick speed. We'll just make it up really high, and there we go. So now we can see all of our farms have been, you know, saturated with water. All right, and now with our rows of crops, what we should be able to do is head to our little presets here and choose this one. And now as long as we set our item here to, you know, the crop that we're wanting, and we paint it on, it should just nicely freaking work, you know? It should just freaking work, and that is beautiful. So I'm not exactly sure what is going to look best, whether we just fill in these entire sections with a single crop or kind of alternate crops within the single section. I think the first option is going to look the best. So if we now just change this over to carrots and then just basically fill in this entire section, I think that's going to look the best. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now over here, let's maybe switch over to some beetroots. All right, well, there we have it. That is our first farmland area done there, looking awesome. And I'm basically just going to be repeating that exact same process for every other section around here. So I might as well just get all of that done next. And we'll of course do that as another time lapse. So let's get started. Alright, and with all of the farms completed, I moved straight into creating some storage sheds, with this first one being a completely diagonal one, which was to fit perfectly in this little spot here. After finishing the exterior, I headed straight inside to add a generous heaping of barrels and hay bales. Now off to the right of this, I began designing a regularly oriented shed, a little bit smaller too, and with the same type of block palette and details inside. Next, it was onto a well design of which the farm would pull water from. I decided on a mostly wooden block palette with the exception of some stone walls to make it feel a bit more sturdy. After placing a second shed, I moved over to this little pond off of the river to begin adding in a couple of docks that would be used for fishing. I added some support pillars with dark oak fences along with a couple of lanterns, and then finished off the farm by changing the biome to jungle for more vibrance. Alright, and with that final time lapse done, here is our area. Oh my god, this thing turned out way better than I thought. I know I say that every time about every freaking build, but man, these farms, like this farmland looks so good. I actually can't believe how good this looks, especially once we change the biome over to jungle. Like the grass and all of the leaves are so much greener. It just looks amazing. And like from up here, dude, like with the buildings too. Okay, I need to stop, brother. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to download this world so far with my little island city over here and my new farmland, be sure to check out my Patreon as the download will be up over there. Also, be sure to leave your ideas in the comments for what you want to see next in the creative series, whether that be maybe like an upgrade to the village, wherever this pathway may lead off to. All right, here we are back in my creative world. So far, we have built this massive island city, and back over this way, a bit of a Stardew Valley inspired farm. And now what I think it's time to do is continue the path over this way over here. And I just have pretty much just a bunch of various ideas like a mine. So my idea is I'm going to spend 10 hours straight in Minecraft today building all of this crap, okay? So let's just get right bloody into it. All right, now that I can turn off my crazy intro voice, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I have no plans whatsoever for how I'm gonna build any of this crap, okay? First things bloody well first though, we're gonna head into the freaking blender mode of Axiom here. And so my idea is to just kind of get a little bit more area here to work with, because right now this is just, you know, there's not a lot of land here suitable for like a village or a mine or anything. So I wanna just kind of make a little bit more land here, and we're gonna do that with the old elevation tool. We're gonna set the mode to flatten here. And so we're gonna pick a height here and then just begin flattening, okay? And there we go, it's as simple as that. There we go, we've got a nice little area to work with. I will continue doing this because I do want, you know, a bit more than that. Alright, and now that we have this nice flat area to work off here, what I want to do is now just use the slope tool here, because right now this area is just very flat, and yeah, my idea is to just add a little bit of, you know, height variation here. So I'm going to pick a block about there, and then just start filling this in like so. And that's going to give us our nice little like height variation back, you know what I'm saying? Now obviously we'll go back and refine this as well. But yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now we can grab the smooth tool. Let's just smoothen everything off to get it nice and uniform and, you know, I don't fucking know, smooth, man. It's fucking smooth, okay? And then the final touch, of course, the painter tool with some grass, and we're just gonna, you know, replace all of this crap to grass. All right, and there we have it. There's our nice little area to work with here. I think that's actually turned out perfectly. I love the way this like cliff is shaped here. I don't exactly know how we're gonna get the pathway up there eventually. So yeah, I think it is time to get that pathway figured out and do a little bit of planning for like this kind of village area, I guess. So the first thing I want to do is just smoothen off the incline here for this. God, why is this shit so fucking loud, man? Yeah, I just want to smoothen off this area for the pathway here. Right, now with that done, we should be able to crack out the old pathway tool here. Right, there we go. So I think from there, I want to, let's just do that for now, because I want to transition this into a bit of a smaller pathway, just because this is freaking massive. And I think we'll go even smaller than that too. All right, so let's continue this up over this way, and I'll probably have it lead up where I mentioned before, up this little mountainside here. That way we have a nice pathway that kind of outlines the entire area as well. We'll leave it off there for now, I reckon. Oh, what the hell's going wrong here, mate? No worries, we can just move that all into the ground. Done bloody deal. Okay, and now my idea is to get started on a little bit of a mining encampment over on this side of the island. Well, it's not an island, this side of the land over here. So I think some palisade walls are definitely going to look really nice here to kind of outline this area. I do need to fix up a little bit of some floating grass and stuff. What the bloody hell's going on over here? All right, so I think we'll start the wall, maybe smack bang right frickin' here. And so I might even actually use the path tool here just to kind of outline the shape that I'm wanting, just to make my life a little bit easier. So maybe set this to a Bezier curve, and we'll just go, yeah, that's pretty much well perfect right frickin' there, man. Holy crap. So I'm pretty much just gonna build along this little path that we've made here. And what I'm gonna do to get a nice palisade wall is alternate between spruce logs and stripped spruce logs. And I'm also gonna make sure to alternate the heights pretty, you know, frequently. So I might do something like that, and then up for this one, I'll go back up. And so we pretty, yeah, so for pretty much, fuck, man, just speak English, brother. So my number one bloody tip here for palisade walls is to have 3 different heights and then just alternate between them each time. So here we might go back like to something like this. And yeah, that's starting to come along nicely. Look at that there. Now, something else as well with palisade walls is I usually don't like adding like 2 blocks side by side directly. If I have like a big straight bit like here, I'll go and just kind of alternate like this and make sure that we have like a different block on each kind of layer. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm just going to quickly build all of this up to the proper height, and I'll probably just get started on this other side too. So let's get that all done as a time lapse right now. All right, so there is our, dude, I just turned my aircon on. I don't know why. It smells like wet dog. It fucking stinks, bro. Man, that's putrid. All right, so yeah, here is our mining encampment fence and pathway all set up and done, ready to add in all of the details, my favorite part. So let's get straight into it. I reckon the first thing that I want to do is just make our mine entrance, and I want to make that right here. Now, you know what? I'm kind of sick of doing just the standard fucking bog standard bloody mine entrance. You know what I'm talking about? You know, this thing. You just see it everywhere, and it's pissing me off, okay? I've probably built like 200 of these kind of mine entrances, and I'm just sick of it. So it's time to try something a little bit different, at least. The only thing is, like, what else can you do, brother? All right, so I've got a bit of an idea here. It is, well, it's pretty similar to what I basically just said I don't want to do, but instead it's going to be sticking out a couple of blocks like this. So we'll do something like that, and then I want to actually put like a roof on this. I think it's going to look really cool. All right, so there's the trim all done. Next, I'm going to just fill this in with some spruce slabs and stairs. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And then I kind of want to get like another secondary building beside this, just to fill out this area as well and just make it feel a little bit more, I don't know, like unique, I guess. And then what I'll do is get a pretty similar looking kind of roof style here. There we go. Just a little bit of a roof like that. I think that's looking pretty nice. Now, as for the walls and the inside of this, I feel like it's going to look nice having something like that and just leaving the walls kind of open. Or maybe even a cooler idea I have is maybe actually add a little bit of a dividing thingamajiglet here. We can have this one half open, and then this other half can actually be a wall. But yeah, that's looking pretty good for a little bit of a mine entrance there. I really do like that. What I'm going to do now is just go around and polish up all of these buildings here and just continue our mine entrance, do the interior and everything. So yeah, let's get that done as a time lapse right now. Alright, so there is the mine entrance part of this entire encampment completed. I think it turned out really nice. Especially this little area over here with like the, I don't know, the fucking minecart park and stuff. Dude, it looks really good. I love it. Okay, it is now time to figure out the rest of this encampment because we do have a lot of space to fill here. And so for the next thing, I'm thinking I want to get like a bit of a watchtower in this kind of corner right next to the entrance here. So I'm thinking maybe like a 5x5 kind of footprint here, I guess. And we're going to use some fences for the legs of the tower, although I don't know if they're going to be like too freaking skinny, you know what I'm saying? And then as we get to where we want to make the floor, we'll add in a couple more here like that. There we go. There is our legs created. Now let's get to actually designing the top part of this, which I feel is going to be, I don't know, a little bit difficult because I've never really been good at these kind of towers and stuff. So let's see how we go here. So I think that's a good shape for the base there. Now what we can do is add in like a bit of a trapdoor ladder that extends down like so. There we go. That is looking nice. Okay. I think we definitely do need some like bracing kind of supports at least halfway in between here. Might even do that with fence gates instead, just for a bit of a more kind of streamlined look, I guess. Oh, also that just reminded me, some of the fences here are connecting up to the the sides, and we have a really cool way of just, you know, stopping that from happening with the Axiom, where is it? Tinker, this one. Now we can just right click and bang, we can disconnect it like that. Usually you have to do that with a debug stick, but with Axiom, you can just use it with the, you know, the little tinker command thing there. So yeah, and we can make it, I mean, stick out from any side we want. So there we go. They're all nice and uniformly, you know, sticking up there, looking good. Oh, there's one more. Get out of here, mongrel. And we got another one here too. There we go. Perfect. That's looking good. Let's continue with this freaking tower. So I'm thinking for the top here, I think a bit of a like simple kind of roof might look nice for this. All right, now I'm thinking this top part is just, it's a little bit too bulky. So I'm thinking doing something like that. Yeah, I think that makes it look a little bit nicer there on the front and back at least. We also do need some kind of like railing up here because right now it's just open and it doesn't really feel that safe, I guess, to stand up here. We'll just get some fences across like that to kind of contrast with the fence gates right below it. We don't want to, you know, muddy it up too much by adding more fence gates here. And yeah, I think that is looking pretty good now. I mean, I'm still not completely happy with the side there. Ah, what a pain in my bum, eh? We might just do that all the way around, I reckon. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. It's a little bit more balanced now too. That looks good. Okay, I might even chuck in a couple of item frames here with a bow and maybe an arrow on this side, just for like, you know, some storage for the weapons up here, I guess. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that little watchtower there. I think next it is time to move on to adding in a bunch of tents to this encampment because, well, it is an encampment. You know, they wouldn't really have proper houses or anything in here. And well, the first thing I want is a nice flat plane to work with here. So what I'm going to do is grab out the elevation tool once again, and I'm just going to kind of smoothen off this area and give ourselves a little bit more room to work with here. Bang, there we go. Okay, now let's get started on our tent design. I think this first one, I want a pretty big one, and we'll probably put it smack bang right in the middle. So I want it to kind of come out to maybe there, I think. And as for the shape, tents are pretty freaking hard to get right sometimes, so we're probably gonna have to play around with it a little bit, I reckon. I think something like that is gonna be pretty good, at least for like the big tent size. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm happy with that shape there. So what we can do now is just simply stack this as far down as we want to go. I'm gonna say probably about yonder. And then just to get a little bit extra detail in here, what we can do is we can kind of add like some spruce decals along the outside of this. It's a really handy tip to, you know, make your tents, because you know, just this, it's just very blocky and like weird looking, but simply adding some of these wooden decals along the sides of it can just help kind of break up that blocky look. As you can see, it just, you know, makes it feel a little bit more smooth. So what we can do is we can copy this, duplicate it onto the other side. And then if I grab our stacker tool here and just outline this entire thing plus another row here, now when we stack this down, it's going to do it every second block like so. That might even be too many, I think. So what we might do is actually undo that. I might use the clone tool instead, and instead of every second block, we'll skip it and do every, you know, fourth block, I guess. We're leaving a gap of 3 in between, like that. I think that looks a lot better. Just before it was a bit too repetitive. Yeah, that's a lot nicer. Sweet. Okay, now at the front here, we definitely need some kind of support to hold up the front of this here. And what I might do as well is just disconnect that from the sides there to make it look a little bit nicer. Yeah, that's awesome. We'll go ahead and clone this and put this at the back as well. Then we'll grab our noise painter. We'll get all of our pathway blocks here, and then I will just kind of, you know, make a pathway connecting to the tent here. I'm going to lower the grass a bit, and then once we get in here, I'm just going to make it only dirt and coarse dirt, so we get a nice full kind of floor here. Bang. Perfect. Okay, we got to replace that. Oh, actually, that just gave me an idea. A little stump there. Never mind. Doesn't look good. Screw that. There we go. So there is our big tent design done. We obviously need to do stuff inside of it, but we'll get to that soon because I do want to get a bit of a smaller tent design as well. Let's get a little tent, and I think for that, I'll just do a shape like that. Very similar to this here, although that is very small. We might even come up one more like that, just to give us more room on the inside. Yeah, that should be perfect there. I'm gonna move this back a bit, then let's stack this once again. And yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna repeat all of the same shit that I just did for this one, for this here. I'll copy and paste these all around the place, and well, yeah, once again, let's just do that as a goddamn time lapse right now. All right, and there is our mine encampment. Dude, this thing looks awesome. I just got a random little idea that I thought would look nice to just add in here, and that is like a little bit of a water stream. We could have some kind of like mountain fountain, I guess, that just spurts out from, I don't know, maybe up here somewhere, and it'll just drop down here. And I just kind of want this to, I don't know, just like kind of split the whole encampment, I guess. And I think it'd look really cool to just have like a little bridge kind of crossing over the pathway here. Yes, I think that's gonna look good. Bang, perfect. It just adds a little bit of color and a little bit of blue into all of this. It just looks, yeah, that looks awesome. There we go. Just a little bridge like that. That looks way better. Sweet as. So that is our mining encampment pretty much all done. I'm super happy with how this has turned out. I think my favorite little detail here is this like log holder kind of pile. I don't know. I just really like that. Super happy with all of these tent designs as well in the mine entrance. Perfect. All right. Let's now move on to, well, whatever the next thing is. I kind of got to decide what that is. And well, after a bit of deliberation, I decided on adding some more details throughout the mining encampment with things like a more fortified wall design, adding plenty of bushes along the hillside here and down in the encampment. I also built another little waterfall sprouting out of the hillside along with more grass throughout the encampment and finishing up with more bushes and details just outside of it. Alright, and there we have it. Now our encampment is actually done. And so as for what we're actually going to build out here, I have finally come to a conclusion. I want to build a little bit of like a settlement, I guess. So nothing like as crazy as this kind of city over here. A little bit more of like a lower level kind of version of this, but just a little bit of one over here in this kind of area. So we're going to add things like farms and houses and paddocks and just random stuff like that. So I think it's just time to get bloody well started. Alright, and so as for my inspiration for this, I found this image right here of like a D&D map kind of thing, and I actually really love like the layout and style of that. So I'm gonna try and emulate just a little bit of like that layout here. So that back half of the picture, it looks to me like that is elevated above like the rest of the village, and I kind of want to do that here with this area. So what we can do is grab the old elevation tool here, and then we'll just raise up all of this area to about maybe that height, and then we can change this over to flatten, and then we can, yeah, basically do that same thing just at this height and get that, you know, this entire area kind of filled out. Then what I want to do is add a slope between, you know, this layer and this layer on the left and right sides here. So what we can do is grab, well, the slope tool. And so we can set maybe right here and then up to here, and then we can simply just paint between those two spots like so. Perfect. And then we'll just simply get the same thing over here. So click here and then probably down here, and then paint that up right there. Now, obviously, a couple of our bushes are... Oh, actually, they're all right in there. That's not too bad. Or at least that gives us a spot to add in a pathway. And now I'm looking... This is a little bit too small of an area here, so we might need to extend our entire island out a bit more. We can do that once again with the elevation tool. So there we go. Something like that looks good. We can replace all of this with grass using the painter tool. Perfect. Now, I do want to move this pathway over to the left a bit more. And, well, I can't really think of any other easier way to do it other than just fucking completely redoing the whole goddamn thing. And I'm just going to re-add this pathway, except just with a little bit more of a, you know, a wider berth to give us more space in there. There we go. That is pretty much perfect right there. We do need to fix up this area just a tad. So now, as for our pathway throughout this little mini village thing, we're going to do the same thing with our path tool here, except I'm going to use coarse dirt, and I want like a similar kind of grid layout to our reference that we had. So first off, obviously, we're going to have our path come up along here, and then we'll have this come around like so, and then back down this way here. Bang. We do need to fix this up a little bit, and I will probably add some slabs in here. All right, so this path will link back up down over yonder. For our next path, I want to have one that kind of wraps along the edge of this little hillside area here. And then all I want to do from here is just simply add a bunch more connections up to our main pathway. There we go. There's our layout created just like that. So obviously in all of these grass spots, we'll be adding like farms and houses and stuff like that. And well, what I'm going to go ahead and do now is just add slabs in all of these spots here just to, you know, make traversing this area a little bit easier. So just give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, there is all of our pathways fixed up. We got slabs along all of those. And now it is time to get started on the bloody house, okay? Now I have no reference for this. I do have an idea for it, and I don't know if it's going to work. So we're just going to bloody see how that goes. So I want to do something I want to do a very simplistic style kind of house. I don't want to do any corner pillars or any of that crap, okay? I just want to see how it looks. Now, I know the blocks I want to use for the roof, but I don't know what I want to use for the walls and stuff. So I'm thinking, let's try it with stone. So I think I want a size kind of like that, and we can get this as like a 2-house kind of block. So my idea is we're just going to select these 2 points. We're going to go set walls, stone, and a site. And yeah, that's it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply add in a little spot for the door right here. And then for the roof, I want to make this out of gravel. Actually, no, not gravel. What the hell am I saying? Granite. Granite, polished granite, and bricks. Now, I think this is actually a little bit too tall now, so let's undo that. Yeah, that's better. And actually, I think I want to do a style more like this. I want to do a stair kind of roof. It looks like this house shape is actually even, so you can get a roof with 2 stairs at the top instead of just like slabs on top or something like that. Yeah, like that, you know what I mean? Then what we can do is we can select this entire area and stack it down. Obviously, it's not going to randomize all of the textures and stuff, so we're going to have to go through and do that, because yeah, that looks pretty weird at the moment. Okay, now above the door here, let's add a little bit of a dormer just for some visual interest in this roof, because right now it is very kind of plain, I guess. Now, obviously we are lacking in a lot of detail, but that's kind of the look I'm going for here. Obviously we do want to get some windows and stuff in here, so... Now, I reckon what'll look really nice as well is some azaleas under here. Maybe even just actually on those spots like that. Maybe for a lantern, we could do something like this and put a lantern hanging on that. Now, because this is still lacking in quite some detail, we do need to add some more things on these other walls, and I'm just gonna quickly show you some interesting things that you can add other than freaking, you know, just boring old windows. So my first idea is to get some vines and some leaves on this wall here and make like a little bit of a trellis kind of deal. I don't know, I just feel like that might look really cool. So we can just get like a bunch of randomly placed leaves like so, and then we can get some vines kind of interdispersed between those, and that just looks like a little bit of like a, I don't know, like, you know, there's stuff growing on the side of the wall. I don't know, I feel like that looks pretty cool. Maybe if we want a little bit of structure in there, we could get some fences underneath a couple of these, and maybe even in between some of these two, to make it look like, you know, kind of stuff that the leaves have been growing onto, you know what I'm saying? Now, back here, we're gonna have another house, so we can't really add many details. This is just gonna be like a little bit of an alleyway, I guess. But maybe on this side, what we could do instead of some windows is add maybe like a bit of a storage pile on the side of this house. I actually really love adding these kinds of details because it just helps the village feel a little bit more like lived in and, you know, lively, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And a really cool tip as well is you can put a regular old flower pot inside one of these and then put a flower or anything in it, and it makes it look like it's actually in that pot, which is pretty cool. Now, because we do still have quite a bit of empty space up here, what we could do is maybe add like a little shelf or two. We could do something like that, have like a little shelf there, and then maybe up here we could have another one too. And then we can just add some random crap on top of these. And there we go. That is a nice little detailed side of the building there. Now, I definitely feel like we need a trim on the roof of this because it just feels very unstructured to me. I don't know. It might look nice, like it does look pretty good, but I just can't handle not having a trim on this. It just feels weird to me. And so we need a block that's gonna contrast nicely with the stone and the bricks, and I'm feeling maybe deep slate is gonna work well for that. Now we could go with deep slate tiles and bricks and just kind of texture that. I think that is what we're going to do. And we'll see how that looks, so just give me a moment here. All right, and there we have it. I think that is looking a lot better. I did want to add the trim along here, but it's just going to be too thick because instead of having like a slab, just a single slab on top, we do have these 2 layers of stairs, and it's just going to look a little bit weird. So I'm going to leave it like that. And so that's basically our house template there. We can now use this design to kind of make all different kinds of shapes and sizes. Like maybe we could get a long one here, maybe a bit of an L-shaped one or something up here. But what I actually want to do next is start adding in a couple of different farm kind of layouts. So I'm going to pick the couple of spots that I want to add some farms in, like I want to do probably this one here. And I'm just going to start adding in a bunch of water so I don't have to worry about it later. So I'll choose that one. I'll probably get this one up over here. All right, now that we've got our water placed, I'm going to head back in here. We're going to get our painter tool. I'm also going to grab our tool masks here, and I'm going to grab my, oh, it's not there. God damn it. I saved one, but now it's gone. All right, there we go. Looks like that works. So we just want to replace only grass blocks here. And so we're just going to basically paint that on. And there we have it. All of the grass blocks replaced with farmland. I'm going to do the same thing here for this section and this one at the back too. We will probably add some more farmland up in this top area here once I've kind of figured out the rest of the stuff. All right, now we want to add crops easily on top of all of this. So what we're going to do is we need an and thing here. We're going to make sure the block below equals farmland, and then the block above needs to be air, like so. And then we're going to change our block here to, or actually I probably want to get mainly wheat. Set the age to 7, and now that should only... Okay, never mind. It doesn't fucking work. Alright, I've managed to get it working. I simply just changed over to the rock tool here, and yeah, now it's only going to add it on top of farmland. There we go. I don't know why that wasn't working before, but we figured it out in the end, basically. So I do kind of want to make these into rows, I guess. So I might just remove a single line of wheat in between these. Now over on this one here, we could maybe get some carrots, and we'll do the same thing, except we'll make the lines go this way. Alright, so there is all of our farms added in so far. I just chucked in some wheat up there too, and now what I'm going to do is just continue adding in a bunch more houses in this kind of style. I might get some with a couple of different block pallets, maybe for the bottom and the roofs as well, but we'll see how we go. So yeah, let's roll another bloody time lapse right now. So for that other block palette I mentioned, I decided on going with textured spruce planks and logs for the walls and prismarine for the roof, which I felt was a pretty nice combination. With a bunch more houses added, I then started building a little market district with a bunch of stalls. I added a cute pond over in this tiny area that I didn't know what else to do with, and I then continued building more houses everywhere that they'd fit, making sure to add plenty of details along the sides too. Up at the top of this hill here, I also continued adding more houses in all different orientations. I finished up the area with some custom trees and crop farms until adding a cute little campsite down on the other side of the pathway here. Alright, so here it is. Here is our completed village so far. Well, I've actually decided it is not completed because I want to kind of change the shape of this background mountain a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do is also scrap the fishing village idea. I just feel like it is too close to this city and this city especially as well. I'm kind of wanting it to be a thing on its own, like not really connected to another village. Maybe a little further up that river or up this one. Be sure to leave a comment, you know, down below and let me know what you think. But so my idea is I'm going to grab the old elevation tool once again, and I'm now just going to start shaping this mountain a little bit differently. I think I'm going to get rid of this entire area, and well, instead of just explaining it, let's just bloody well show you exactly what I'm going to do. So let's just bloody increase the rate there, because that's going to take freaking forever. So that means I'm going to have to get rid of our little thing here. I'll probably make it connect up somewhere over here, because I want to leave this mountain here, obviously, for our mine entrance. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that shape there. So what we need to do now is continue our little wall all the way over. I'm actually going to, I don't know, should we kind of have half of this village be more encampment? So continue this wall kind of that way, maybe. That way we have more tents up along here and then houses, and this village is kind of split in half. I actually really like that idea. I was originally just going to end this wall there, but I think I like that a lot more. So yeah, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to continue this wall up there and do everything I just said. So yeah, I think it's time to get another time lapse going right bloody now. All right, so first things first, I used the path tool to make a line for me to follow, building the palisade walls. I fixed up the little river along with placing as many more tents as I could fit in, which ended up looking super nice. Now onto the other side of the fence, I first extended the raised land over towards the fence and then got to placing a bunch more houses. The cliffside was looking pretty bland at this point, so I felt a good touch up with plenty of bushes and grassy areas would work a bloody treat. And to finish up, I added a couple of lampposts everywhere. Alright, and there we have it. The completed mining outpost and village are all done and looking perfect. I started this project at about 9 AM this morning and it's now 6 PM. So I'm gonna go have some dinner and hit the frickin' hay. In this video, I'm gonna build a village idea I've had for ages now. Imagine a serene town situated on top of a lake, interconnected with sprawling docks, heaps of houses, and yeah, okay, you get it. I'm just way too excited, so let's get started, mate. Alright, so no joke, I literally spent ages in my creative world here trying to figure out where to build this frickin' village. My wife came along and she literally just instantly told me what to do, and we're doing that exact thing right now. So the plan, we're gonna build a big stinking dam wall right frickin' here. We're gonna raise the water of this river up here, and yeah, dude, there's so much stuff we've got to do, so we're just getting started, okay? The first thing I want to do to make positioning this dam wall a lot easier is a pretty cool little tool I've just recently discovered with the Axiom mod, and that is the old shape tool here, okay? So we're gonna set it to solid, and we're gonna set it to a cuboid, and we're gonna put this up here. We're gonna change it from water to frickin' probably stone. Now we can separate the XYZ so it isn't just scaling like that, and so we can scale it, you know, separately, I guess. Someone said in the comments, yeah, control click to set the value. There we go. That's how we frickin' get something higher than 64 or whatever. Drag this down, and now we can just use this to kind of figure out the height and position that we want instead of like placing it a bunch of times, you know? Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, brother, okay? Yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty good. So let's paste that in. All right, and well, now what we need to do is fill up this side with water, okay? And so we can do that with the old flood fill tool, wherever it has gone. There it is. Set this to underwater, and then we need to figure out the height that we want, and we can increase the limit so we can fill up a massive area. Something like that, I reckon. Let's go up to maybe there, and we're gonna place that in. Bang diddly, look at that. Now, oh my god, okay, that has filled quite a distance. Because this was an underground river by the looks of it. It goes through a cave through there. That's thanks to the tectonic mod. So I guess to maybe just keep that continuity going, we can probably get the melt tool, just expand this hole a little bit more. I mean, we're probably going to never look at this area again in our lives, but I just want it to make sense, I guess. There we go. Now it makes sense. That's good. Perfect. I love that too. That makes all of this land like closer to the water too. It's going to be so much easier to build on. Now we do have a lot of trees that are kind of just underwater here that we do need to fix, definitely. So I believe with the script brush, we have a brush that is called clear foliage. There it is. And I'm just going to paint this along the entire kind of coastline up here, and that will get rid of all of those ugly trees underwater. And I'm just going to clean up the other side as well. I'm going to fix up all of this water because obviously those trees have left some holes. So give me a second and I will be right back. Okay, and here is our new area. I ended up clearing away a lot more trees because I actually have an idea for this to look better, basically. What I think I want to do is kind of, I don't know, make this all come to like a bit of a lake. So I want to kind of turn all of this area into water. And I think that is going to look pretty good. So first, let's get the elevation tool. We're going to make that quite massive, and I'm going to set it to flatten. And I kind of want all of this to be only a couple of blocks above the water here, like this. So I'm just going to pretty much start flattening a lot of this terrain around here. Actually, all this is going to be turning into water. What am I thinking? So honestly, we're going to be flattening it from down here, way down in the lake. Now, to make this a lot faster, we're going to increase the rate here. We'll go back down here and set our start point, and then just start basically painting this in all of the area that we're wanting. So yeah, that's pretty much perfect. And I just want to do the exact same thing to the other side as well. Okay, so here is our area so far. Obviously, it does look whack as hell, okay? I'm not gonna beat around the bloody bush, okay? But what we're gonna do next should hopefully make it look normal again. So let's fill up this lake here. Fill him up about there. Do the same on this side too. What the hell's going on with this gap here? Fix water, dickhead. Okay, so there is our lake. And now obviously we do have like this massive flattened area that I've added, which does look quite whack. Also, we do have floating lava over here, which we can just go with replace near 50 lava bloody 0. See you later. So to get this terrain, oh my god, what the hell's this? Why is there floating grass? So yeah, what we can do to fix this terrain basically is use the slope tool. And then with this tool, all we need to do is set our first point. I'm also going to make this a bit bigger. We're going to set our first point and then our last point. And now from between those 2 points, we can essentially paint on a slope of terrain like so. And that is essentially, well, my idea on how we're going to make this look more normal. It does not seem to be working very well yet. I think first what we might do is actually change all of this stone over to grass just so it looks more normal, because that's probably not helping in terms of, you know, it looking weird. And then to make it look more normal, I'll probably go back and like use the smooth tool and just smoothen all of this off so it looks a little bit more natural, because right now this is absolutely whack as hell. Alright, so I actually pretty much ended up redoing everything, and this time I essentially just spammed the elevation tool set to the triangle mode, and this actually ended up looking pretty good in the end. Okay, here is our brand new improved area, and yeah, like me, you may have noticed at this point that this is basically a giant wang, okay? Like, it's very obvious, and we need to do something about it, okay? We can't... yeah, honestly, I don't know how to make this less wang-like. Damn it, dude, that's annoying. I do want to put a big stinking bridge across here, but that might look like a ring of sorts that you would utilize on your wang. But yeah, so you can see our new and improved terrain. It's not the most natural looking, but I have gotten our stone back in. Basically, I'm going to be covering this all with trees anyway, which actually we might get to now just because I'm sick of kind of looking at it. So I'm going to have to sit here like basically by hand and just right click all of this frickin' terrain and fill it in with goddamn trees, dude. It's going to look a lot better once we do that though. So I'm going to get a quick time lapse of this crap done, and I'll meet you guys on the other side. All right, so I simply continued placing trees everywhere along the landscape. That sort of made sense, I guess. I also jumped over to the opposite side and repeated the entire process again. And well, once the trees were all added, I began addressing the wang situation, with the first order of business being to smoothen off the ball transition in an attempt to remove the sack portion. I then began adding plenty of islands and roughened up the landscape in the sack area to again remove the illusion of balls. All right, here is our new and updated sack and wang. I think it's definitely looking, it is looking like a mangled kind of sack now, but if you just kind of put that image out of your head, it definitely does just look like a bit of a lake with some islands and a river connecting, okay? And yeah, so honestly, this does differ quite a bit from my original plan of just having some like kind of excavated areas on the sides and having mainly docks. Now we do have a lot of islands and kind of little in-coves and stuff, which I actually kind of prefer. And I'm really excited to connect all of these together with docks and put houses on all of these and stuff. But yeah, my plan has just been kind of thrown out the window, so I'm basically winging it from this point onwards. Okay, now just before I was gonna continue building, I did notice like you can see like the biome color kind of changes a bit here and over here as well. This is from I think Blooming Biosphere or something. All these leaves are like orange. So if you ever find yourself in this situation where you got different kind of biome colors with the Axiom mod, you can grab out the old biome painter. We can set this probably just plains. Bang. We're going to fill it vertically as well, make this massive, and then what we can essentially do is just paint the plains biome across our entire landscape so that the biomes stay one uniform color, you know what I'm saying? So like that, and there you go. You kind of probably didn't really see it, but I did. All of the colors just updated over, and they're all the same. All these leaves are the same color now as well, which is, yeah, a lot better. I did miss all of these trees up here, so we'll be able to see it in bloody real time. So paint that on and bang, there you go. All bright, nice, vibrant green. There we go. Everything's looking nice and uniform now. And the next thing I want to address is actually how we get down into this village. Well, actually up into it, because I was thinking of maybe changing this landscape a little bit and adding a pathway from here that would branch up off into our town. So we're going to grab the old elevation tool here. I'm going to set this to lower. Just start basically holding down left mouse here. And I'm going to increase the rate a bit so this doesn't take all frickin' day. Oh my god, okay, that's gone quite deep. I did not mean for it to go that far down. We're going to now change this over to flatten, bring this back up, and I'm going to slope it from maybe here all the way up over to our spot. And then we're going to paint all of that in like so. And that's going to give us the perfect surface there to add our pathway onto. Yes, that is beautiful, mate. Okay, now to get our pathway in, we're going to use the path tool, of course. And now I'm going to click, clickety, clickety, you know what I'm saying, all the way up to here. There we go. There is our path added. Obviously, it does need a little bit of cleaning up, like we got grass everywhere here. But there is our pathway, branched off from our main pathway. That is looking really good. And essentially what we're going to do is now snake this path throughout the entire village. I think what I might do is kind of just get an aerial shot of this entire place. I'm going to lower my FOV to make this a bit easier too. I'm going to start painting in some pathways now. Let's get bloody to it. Okay, so I finished the path on this side of the land, I guess. Now, my original plan was to add a bridge that was connecting like these two sides, but honestly, it's probably gonna look very weird having a bridge that freaking long. So my other idea was basically just to make the damn wall the bridge instead, which should work out freaking perfectly. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, honestly. Okay, so there's our pathway connected up, and I actually ended up just quickly changing this whole area because once again, my wife had another good idea, and that was to make something like this instead of what I had. And I feel like that'll just look a lot nicer having houses lining this, and then like, I don't know, we'll figure out something to do with that. Just having this like little like coastal area is just, I don't know, really nice. Okay, but back to the dam. I did look at a couple of reference images, and there's something called the Gordon Dam, and it looks very similar to this, but except it is actually curved. So I think I want to add a little bit of a curve to this. I think the easiest way to do it is just going to be basically selecting the entire thing like this, like the middle kind of area. I want to shift this back maybe 3 blocks, and then we're going to get the next kind of segment, and then the next segment, and move it back by 1, and that'll give us like a little bit of a curve. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Just a little bit more organic looking, and yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with that. And obviously we do need to fix this. I don't know if this landscape here is natural, but something we can do with World Edit is / regen. That'll basically just regenerate that little slither of land. There we go. I can also probably do that same thing with this like bottom portion that we've messed up here. There we go. Perfect. That's perfect. Okay, let's head back up here and start adding some freaking details to this. So firstly, I think what would look really nice is just having a couple of little openings with some water slowly trickling out. Okay, I ended up doing quite a lot of redesigning, and this is the final design I've ended up with here. We've got a lot more depth added in and just a little bit of texture as well, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Now, I think it is finally time to move on, and I think now what we're going to do is continue this pathway over on this side. I'm going to have this wrap all the way around over to here, and then I'm also going to start adding in a bunch whoopsie daisy of wooden like oak docks that'll kind of branch off from these pathways and connect to these islands together, and also a bunch of decorative docks as well. So let's get bloody to it. Alright, so first off, I continued the cobblestone path off from the dam wall and around the entirety of this side of the land, along with looping the path with a bridge. Back on the right side of the lake, I added a bridge connecting this first island, a second bridge for the other island, and then connected the islands with a final bridge in between. I then started building the first house, finally, on that first island. I wanted to make this one into a pretty big, almost fishing processing plant of sorts, with a big house right in the middle of this platform. In terms of the block palette, I went with a pretty bold diorite for the walls, oak for the pillars, and copper for the roof, which I felt fit the grungy fishing village aesthetic I was after. I also made sure to add plenty of details around the place to make it feel like a pretty heavily used area from everyone in the village. Dude, this house turned out way freaking better than I thought it would. This thing looks so good. My favorite part's definitely these little like individual sections down at the bottom. I love this so much, man. Holy crap. Yeah, this is kind of the vibe I want to go with for our fishing houses. I really do like the waxed like copper roof as well. Oxidized cut copper, whatever the fucking hell, Jesus Christ. So we've got a bit of a stone foundation going, and like, yeah, I think I probably already explained all of this house in the time lapse, so I won't freaking blabber on about it. And then when it comes to the houses on the actual land, I think I want, I don't know, I'm really interested in trying like a really slim kind of house, maybe literally like 3 to 5 blocks wide, but then like really long. I'm gonna make them pretty simple as well, I think, so that way we can make them angled as well, like throughout this entire thing. And I want each one to have its own little dock kind of situated and sprawling out the back here. I think that is gonna look really freaking cool. Now, honestly, I'm thinking like maybe just terracotta style houses, and we can kind of just change the color as we go for each one. So towards this area up here, we will have straight houses. I definitely think 5 blocks wide is gonna be exactly what we're after here. Yeah, so we're gonna stack these up as high as we want. I think maybe one more. Bang. And now as for the roof, honestly, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I do like the idea of having like a consistent kind of theme and like using these style roofs over there too. I think that's gonna look pretty cool. So pretty much something like that, and then I'm just going to, you know, continue that all the way down. I'll add a couple of details on the outside, and then in order to get this rotated, hold on, just let me build this entire house real quick and I'll show you how we're going to rotate it. All right, so there's the basic house, obviously lacking a lot of detail. I've done that on purpose, but we will come back and obviously detail this more. But what I want to do is get the old box select tool. I'm going to select the entire house here. Now we're going to press enter to confirm it, and I'm going to copy it. Now, if I go to place it, with Control V, you can see, obviously, we have a whole nother house here. But now what we can do, if we go unlock rotation up here, and then we start rotating this bad boy, bang, it's gonna give us a diagonal house right there. Now, obviously, it is gonna be a little bit whack-a-diddly, so we're gonna have to fix that up. But if I just go ahead and paste that in, you can see we basically have like the general, well, holy shit, that is messed up. I think a better way of doing this is going to be duplicating the whole house once again. And then on this one, we're going to replace all of the slabs and stairs with full blocks. And this is going to be a really good way to get like that diagonal house look without it being kind of, well, messed up, I guess. What I might do as well is actually just get rid of all of the details and just add those back in manually, I guess. So let's go ahead and select this entire thing once again. Bang. This time I'm going to cut it. Okay, we've got our blueprint saved. Let's go ahead and try rotating it perfectly 45 degrees. There we go. We'll get something a little bit better there. So yeah, there you can see it's a very rough diagonal house. It does need a little bit of fine tuning, but that is the kind of easy way to get your houses a bit more diagonal. You just got to simplify them first, and then you can rotate them with Axiom. But yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a bunch of these little houses along this entire kind of shoreline here. Maybe even wrap it all the way up around here too. And then I'm going to start adding some docks kind of sprawling out from each house. So I'm going to get all that figured out, and I'll see you guys in the time lapse. All right, you're about to see 1.5 hours of work in 40 seconds. So yeah, I first added all of the houses around the entire area, which was actually a massive pain in the ass, along with the fact that I had to hand place every front door, back door, window, and other details into every single house. I also used Axiom to change the color of every house so it wasn't so repetitive, along with adding a dock for every house as well, which really made the whole area come to life. Now it was time to get into the gritty details, first of which I made a classic lamppost and pasted it around the entire village. Back towards the entrance to the village, it was a bit plain, so I began adding various details like a couple of log piles, along with getting a bit of a market district situated. I also noticed our severe lack of chimneys, so I began adding some to various houses across the village. Alright, and here is a look from afar at our island, what the f am I saying? at our lake village thing so far. And dude, this is looking insanely good. And well, I did show this shot to my wife, and yes, basically she's running the channel now, guys, but she said we kind of need some like centerpiece, and I really do agree with her. I just feel like this isn't enough of like a centerpiece, so I think what I want to do is make another little island right here. So let's get bloody to it. So to do that, we're just going to use the elevation tool once again. We're going to set it to raise, and I'm just going to hold left click a little bit here, not too much. We don't want to go spastic with it. There we go. Now that we have our height here, we can set this instead to flatten to bring all of the terrain up to this height around it. I don't want this to be too big of an island, and I do want it to be kind of circular. Right now it's very egg-shaped. I think that should be pretty good right there. And well, what I want to build on this is, of course, a bit of a lighthouse. Not just any old freaking lighthouse either. I want this thing. This thing's going to be massive, brother, okay? Although I do feel like this island is a bit too big, so I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. All right, now let's get started with our lighthouse. So we're, of course, going to use the classic blocks. We're going to use some quartz and also some red concrete. Now, oh, actually, I have an idea as well. We can use the shape tool again, and we should be able to get a bit of a cylinder. Paste him in, and we should be able to get like a decent shape with this, I reckon. I think that's looking pretty good for like a base there. Let's paste a copy so that we keep our little selection box, and then we can easily just move this up, and we're going to scale it back diameter just a little bit like that. And there we go. That is our lighthouse done. No, I'm just kidding. It's not done, of course, but that's the shape there. That's looking pretty good. Now what we need to do is get our rings added in. So I want a gap of 2 blocks between, and then we can start adding our rings in. All right, that is looking pretty freaking good. Look at that bad boy. That is a really awesome looking little centerpiece there. That's so good. We do need to get the top portion situated here. So I think what I'm going to do for that is the classic oak slabs around the sides here. You know what? I'm just gonna try putting 30 gigabytes into Minecraft straight up. I'm not even joking, because once it reaches that 11 gigs there, bang, there's a stutter. So I'm gonna beef this boy up. I'm gonna put in 32 gigs of RAM and see what happens. I'll be back. Okay, we are back. We've got 32 gigs of RAM allocated to Minecraft. Hopefully that stops the stuttering now. That'd be pretty good. I don't know. I think I'll just slap the roof on. So for the roof, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the shape tool again. We're going to get the cone. There we go. That's looking a lot better now with the roof added on there. I'm just gonna smoothen this roof off a bit by adding a bunch of slabs to the corners and stuff. So once again, give me a goddamn freaking second. All right, now for the light bit, let's do something like this maybe, and we'll get some lights there. Bang. Maybe even add a couple little more details in here. Maybe some like trap doors going down from these stair bits. That almost looks infinitely worse. Never mind, we're not doing that. Yeah, kind of like the simplistic look of that, I guess. I do feel like this area is very flat of the roof. Okay, that actually looks pretty good with just some trap doors kind of alternating there. That doesn't look too bad. Yeah, honestly, that looks awesome. I really do like that smoother transition there. That looks really cool. All right, so next up, let's get this door added on. So I want to give ourselves a little bit more room out here. So let's just extend this stone out. Okay, and there we go. That is a pretty super simple little White House. What the hell am I saying? A lighthouse there. That's looking pretty good. I think for some extra detail to this, we'll get the rock tool, and we can add some kind of rocky outcrops like around this island, as if that's like what it's protecting, I guess, against. Oh yeah, there we go. That is looking awesome with those rocks around it. Hell yes, dude. Now, one thing I did forget about is we kind of need a way to arrive at this lighthouse. So I'm thinking what we do is we connect this pathway up here to a bit of a dock. I think that's going to be freaking perfect. So we can bring this pathway down this way. That is looking pretty freaking good right there. And then I think I will also copy this cute little boat design that I made down here. Now maybe just a couple of little details on this dock, maybe like just some random shit, honestly. Hell yeah, dude. That is our centerpiece for the whole area done. And that just makes this entire thing look so much cooler, dude, having that there. Okay, so with our lighthouse done, I want to now move over to this island here, okay? And I instantly got an idea for this, to make a maybe L-shaped building and maybe make it into like a horse stable or like a animal barn of sorts. I'm gonna probably do this as a bit of a time-lapse, so let's get started right now. All right, so speeding through the stable build, I got a roof slapped on real quick and began adding the stalls for every single horse. I also added plenty of details like hay bales to every stall, along with adding a horse into everyone too. I then turned my focus to the rest of the island, first getting a big stinking dock placed in with a boat, along with deciding on getting some farmland situated as we were lacking in any crop farms in the entire village. After getting the final carrot farm established behind the stable, I then began adding another lighthouse, because why the hell not? Okay, and there we go. This island is now fully completed. Now I think it is time to move over to this side of our lake village thing. So I don't really want to repeat what I've done over here, okay? So this is meant to be kind of like the ritzy, you know, area. Everyone has their own dock and like little yard and stuff. And I think over on this side, I want to keep it more kind of like fishing village looking. So maybe houses more like this one. So each house has like a platform around it and like a dock and stuff. Yeah, basically, well... the same thing over here, so each house is going to have its own dock. But I just want to lay it out a little bit differently. And I think as well, having like a big market area, maybe like stretching along here on a massive curved platform would be super cool. So yeah, each one of these houses I'm probably going to build by hand. So this is probably going to be the most time consuming part. So let's get frickin' to it. Starting off, I decided on tackling the market district, of which I wanted to be pretty large, taking up the entirety of this stretch of the village. After filling the platform with stalls, I definitely felt the market district would have plenty of docks to arrive at, so I added a stretch of them in just behind it. After finalizing the details, I then moved on to the first proper house of this side of the lake village, opting for that more traditional fishing house style, using the same palette from the first house I built, oak wood, diorite, and copper in the roof. With that first house all done, I then moved on to the next one, pretty much utilizing the same process, except just making the house more unique in shape. With the details finished, I then moved on to a bit of a mineral processing plant, complete with a warehouse building, big gravel floor, a crane for moving lots of ore and rocks at a time, along with a dock for transporting everything. Moving over to the other side of the bridge, I began building another house design, and once that was done, I got a bit lazy and copied the first ones I built and placed them over here. I'd also felt that having this pathway just end abruptly was a bit weird, so I decided on adding another arrival point to the village along with another house up here too. Finishing up this side of the lake fishing village, I placed around more lampposts, more houses, and got a bunch more trees sprinkled around. Alright, and there it is. Honestly, this village ended up being pretty freaking huge. I think it's almost the biggest build in this entire world. And just taking a look at this thing with the ortho camera mod, oh my god, what an awesome village. And so if you want to explore this, basically this entire world for yourself, the download will be available over on my Patreon, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. Also, be sure to leave some ideas in the comments for future videos in this series. You know, on like what I should build. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.